And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Plough Lane for 9yrsTV post-match show. We're going to be going over all the main talking points of this afternoon's 2-0 defeat at home to Lincoln City. It's now 18 games in League One without a win, but our position in the table remains unchanged because once again, every other team down the bottom, I think every team in the bottom six today has ended up losing. So once again, we keep ourselves just above the relegation, out of the relegation zone for the time being. I'm Nick Draper. To my left, I'm joined by George Jones. To my right, I'm joined by Rob Boyce. And very quick recap of what happened this afternoon. 1-0 down at half-time. Thanks to, and I do apologise, Lincoln fans, Fiorini goal. Good strike, to be fair, put them 1-0 up at the break. Second half, they had a player sent off. Violent conduct for a little bit of argy-bargy, to use a cliche, with Lee Brown. And a little bit of momentum came our way, but then unfortunately we couldn't take our chances, and we did have them. Zach Robinson had a couple of really, really good ones. Couldn't capitalise, and second goal comes when Nick Zanev has a clearance charge down. Lincoln make the most of that, make it 2-0. Between the red card and the second goal, we had a goal, in inverted commas, disallowed. Jack Redoney put the ball in the net. Seemed to be that the linesman flagged offside, but the goal was not given because the referee pulled play back for a foul on Zach Robinson on the halfway line. So we need to sort of pick through the bones of exactly what happened there. Rob, I'm going to start with you. If Redoney's goal is allowed, for whatever reason that it was actually disallowed, whether it was offside or not, or whether the ref blew too early, whatever the situation is, if that goes in and it's 1-1, does the second goal happen?
I think so. I think the momentum swings in our way. But it's all ifs and buts, isn't it? You know, you can go before that and say if Zach Robinson puts the ball in from 6 yards out instead of blazing it over the bar, and we get 1-1 then I think, the momentum swings our way. But we needed to hang in the goal. We needed to hang in the game at 1-0, and we just gifted them a goal. Nick Zanev obviously kicking it straight at John Marquez, who then punishes us. And then after that, we looked a bit desperate towards the last 10 minutes. There was a late penalty shout, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure. I'd have to say it back. It looked.
I'd say on that the lino gave it. The lino thought it was a penalty.
So, for those of you that didn't see it, Anthony Hartigan seems to nip in front of the goalkeeper, gets the ball first, goes down. Linesman, we believe, flags to give a penalty, but the referee booked Anthony Hartigan for a dive. Rob, you were down that end. What do you think? Was it a bit of an exaggerated dive? Was that what went against?
Yeah, to be honest with you, when I saw it first time around, I thought it was a bit theatrical. It's one of them ones where, when you're in that position, you look for the foul and the penalty. You look to touch. Yeah, you look to go down, which is the right decision to do. And at that stage of the game, But at the end of the day, the ref hasn't given it. It's all ifs, buts, maybes, but at the end of the day, we've lost 2-0.
John Kittle has messaged to say, do not try to sugarcoat it, no one's listening to the propaganda. John, I promise you, we're not going to try and send any propaganda your way. We're just going to talk over the main talking points, and we will get onto the performance at large. We'll talk about the negatives of it. You can't dress up 19 games without a win. You can't excuse that. It is what it is. We're just going to go over the main talking points for the moment. The penalty there. George, do you think the ref lost control of the game somewhat with the red card? So the red card came for a little bit of a tussle with Lee Brown. Lee Brown had kind of grabbed hold of the player as the ball was trickling out for a goal kick. Player reacts. Loads of players steam in. It seemed a bit of something and nothing for me, to be honest with you. I thought maybe a booking for each player, but no, it was just a straight red card. Lee Brown, nothing.
Well, it was a red card for violent conduct because he did raise his hand and violently push it.
Right.
I know it was a push to the back, but it was violence. So it's a red card. Whether you think it's just a bit of argy-bargy or whatever, it was a violent conduct, it's red card. And
okay.
I know what you said before we went on air, and if it was the other way around, would I be upset? Maybe. It was violent conduct, it's a red card. If a neutral's watching that, it's a red card. And he did lose control because then he bottled a penalty decision. When Yolano's looking...
control before the penalty decision.
Yeah, but when Yolano's looking literally straight at something, and you overrule him, what's the point of the lino being there? Because in my opinion, it was a penalty. Yeah, he did make a meal of it. He was looking for it, but there was contact, and he did go down.
I would just say, I get what you're saying, but if the linesman gives it and the referee overrules him, and you say, what's the point of linesman being there? It's the referee's word at the end of the day. He's the senior person in that relationship. Oh, yeah. His decision is what goes.
I think you trust the person who has the better view of it.
I'm not. Did the referee not have a good view of it?
Like it was right in front of the lineup.
Well, it was also right in front of the referee.
Yeah.
It was, I mean...
But one had a side on, one was from a bit behind.
Can we just rewind? I don't think it was a red card in my opinion. I know George was saying it's violent conduct. It was a push in the back. It was handbags. At best, both players should have got a yellow card. Lee Brown got a yellow card. I think if they both walked away and got a yellow card, no one would really have had too much of a grumble.
I think that my issue with it was because after that, clearly it rattled Lincoln because they felt it shouldn't have been a red card, and they were really annoyed by it. And then the game got really fractious after that. And I think that told with the celebrations after the second goal, they felt they'd been harshly done by.
Yep.
The game did lose control. There were players going down everywhere, players claiming free kicks for every little touch, everything like that. The game broke down. It really did. And when they scored the second goal, the celebrations, the release of frustration for them at that point, even though they're the ones that were in the lead and aren't on some ridiculous windless run, really showed, I thought.
You know what? The thing is, not only were they frustrated, so therefore the celebrations were probably a bit over the top, but you got to remember it was a big result for them today. Had we won today, we would have pulled them back into the relegation battle. They were all singing "We're staying up" after that result because they've got a bit of breathing space, haven't they, between them now and the bottom of the league. So it was a big game today for both teams.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's a big game that we've lost 2-0 at home. Echoes of Sheffield Wednesday in the Premier League in the year 2000. Angel Pilgrim has said, my husband said back in December that he was not going to shave until we had a win. Sad times. Married to a Viking now. There are worse things to be married to.
Angel Pilgrim married to George Jones because he's looking like a bit of a Viking.
Yeah, George probably should have a bit of shave as well. Maybe a member of the Viking Raiders. This is too bad. Or War Machine, as it's called them. Anyway, maybe not talk about that right now. That said, so we've talked about the referee, the major points, the major talking points. Let's go back to the first half where I thought we started the better. I thought we looked the more likely. But once again, when we exactly the same against Plymouth, we didn't quite create the chances we created against Plymouth. I'll come on to Cosgrove not being there for a moment. We didn't take advantage of what I thought was a more positive. I thought we were better. I thought we were on the front foot, getting corners, free kicks, forced the keeper into a couple of saves. But as soon as we didn't do that, Lincoln then get a foothold in the game. And what happens is exactly as Plymouth on Tuesday, they score the goal.
The big thing for me is just the quality up front. They have John Marquez, Chris Maguire, and we were working with Zach Robinson and Dapper Mabude. Obviously, Zach Robinson's from the academy. He's not really played any League One football. Had the odd game, and it told in the end. To be honest, they were clinical. They had 2 big chances, and they put them both away. Actually, their first goal was class. It's 25 yards out, put it top corner. And the second goal, good decision making. John Marquez obviously slides it across, which was the right decision. Yeah. I mean, we huffed and puffed, we got in good areas, but for me, I don't feel like we tested the keeper enough today as well, considering he was making his first league debut, I believe.
So he's a young player because the loanee goalkeeper from West Brom he's been unavailable. I think this goalkeeper might have actually played in the week, but I'll double check that one. Joined by Tom Large now. So if you are just joining us, I'm Nick Draper, George Jones by left, Rob Boyce, and now Tom Large has joined us. Tom, we've said a lot of things already. Can you just give us your gut feeling reaction at the end of the day? Was it? Did we actually deserve, on the merits of the performance, to come away with a better result today, or was it a 2-0 fair reflection for you?
To be honest, I don't think it was a fair reflection. Mm-hmm. I think the second goal certainly was a big mistake. Mm. But if that Rudoni goal, whatever it was, ruled out, I'm still unsure. I think the referee's still unsure. But if that goes in, I think we take the game 2-1 there, because we were all over them, and how we didn't score aside from that Rooney chance, I'll never know. But yeah, I think that Rooney goal goes in, we take control of the game, we win, and Plough Lane's left, rocking, and everyone's happy again.
I think that's the thing, because we had the 2 good chances. Zach Robinson had 2 really good chances. One he shot when he perhaps could have squared, and another he took a shot, couldn't keep it down, maybe could have squared it again. But we definitely, in my opinion, we reduced them to 2 chances. They had a really good goal and a really bad mistake from Tans. I think we were so unlucky not to. I think arguably we deserved 3 points, but we at least deserved a point from that.
But is it different, George? And he has got a little bit of grief from our fans since he's joined. But if Sam Cosgrove does play today, with his physicality, with balls going in the box against, I thought, a pretty small team in Lincoln as well, and just his little bit of extra experience, back to goal, bringing players into play, do we actually get in that first opening spell? Yeah. Do we actually get a goal?
I don't know. I think it's a completely different game because we set up in a different way if we have Cosgrove fit. Because I'm not sure if we set up with 2 up top, we certainly don't have the runners and the energy and the pace. So I think it's a completely different game of Cosgrove. But I mean, we mustn't forget Cosgrove had a great chance to put us ahead on Tuesday night and couldn't quite direct the header and ended up hitting the post. Yeah, I think we were just unlucky today.
I mean, my point sort of allied to that is, Rob, that Plymouth, with all due respect to Lincoln, stronger team than Lincoln.
Yep.
I thought Lincoln started quite poorly, didn't think a great deal of them, to be honest with you. But again, are we coming back to this whole thing about experience? And they had the experienced players that have been there, done that, and despite the wobbles, in the end, they managed the game. They managed it out. They saw it out.
Well, Lee Brown spoke in the week, didn't he, on Tuesday about hanging in the game. You know, you don't get the game all going your own way.
Yeah.
And you know, for the first 20 minutes, Lincoln hung in the game. We didn't, you know, take our chances or anything like that. They built a bit of confidence, a bit of momentum, you know, and then I just think once we don't take our chances or get off, you know, to a flying start, the energy just looks like it begins to get zapped out of the players to me.
Got some comments from you coming through. Sam Maguire, name rings a bell. I cannot see us winning any of our remaining fixtures. Our luck has run out, I'm afraid. Now, Tom, many years ago, Andy Gibbs on the screen, I'll come to him in a second. Many years ago, Tom, I said that I always felt that there's this little guardian angel sat on our shoulders at AFC Wimbledon. In big moments, things go for us, and they always have done seem to go our way when they really counted. Post Bromley in the playoff semi-final in 2007, but Staines away, we got the 2 goals very late on with Mark DeBolla coming back, and ever since then I think those little things have just gone away. Hampton-Richmond, we win promotion with a late-minute goal with perhaps a foul in the build-up. All these sorts of things. Luton, Jason Walker hits the inside of the post with the last kick of the normal time. We stay up with a late win at Luton. All these things just seem to fall our way. And does it feel like now everything goes against us now, especially when you look at the consistent problems we've got with injuries? And you look again, Chocker out today, George Marshall's injured today, Shea Alexander plays, gets injured, and another one to add to the list. It just seems that all the luck, and then we have the issue with the Rudy goal disallowed. Everything just seems to be going against us.
I think there's certainly a call for that. There's been a lot of times this season where you see things, and I've mentioned it so many times now, that Hennigan one a few weeks back where it comes off someone's shin, hits the keeper and comes off. Yeah. There's so many little things like that change the season. You know, you get a goal and something like that gives you 3 points. 3 points in this race now makes us very clear from the relegation spot. So I think at the moment there's been definitely elements of luck in the fact that we're not in the bottom 4. I think that, and especially after Tuesday as well. I think that for me shows elements of luck, but we've just not had as much luck in previous years. Injuries, we've got 2 senior strikers. Well, have we got a senior striker?
Well, Cosgrove. Who's the other one injured at the moment? Presley. So
3 of our strikers. Cosgrove's injured as well. Yeah. I think he's out for. I don't know how long he's out for, but he's not been.
Probably unlikely to see him back. No.
So I just think something's got to click and something's got to happen for us. I think it's just getting a goal and getting ahead and keeping that lead. But
we've been in that position, haven't we? We've got a goal, we've got in the lead. I think we've had luck because how we've gone 18 games now without a win in the league and still haven't dropped into the bottom 4.
Well, true.
You know, you could flip it the other way that we are lucky that we aren't in the bottom 4 yet. But I'm sure Andy and our viewers want us to answer his question. So.
Yes, it's on the screen. Andy Gibbs, can you talk about the elephant in the room that is everyone calling for the manager to go? Not everyone, but obviously there are growing calls for this, and it's been a constant theme for a little while now on social media. A few comments here and there. I mean, I'll come out and say my opinion on it. No, I will be steadfast in that, and I've been consistent with that. For me personally, as a football club, I don't think we can keep going year on year doing the same repeated pattern. We can't sack Neil Ardley, replace him with Wally Downs, and then the following season sack Wally because we're in trouble, and then bring Glyn Hodges in, and then the following season sack Glyn when we're in a bit of trouble, and then sack Glyn after Robbo comes in, and then the following season then Robbo goes. That's a really bad cycle for me to get involved in, and also makes us no better than Watford, and who wants that? I think the problem, and I understand it, is that people think that we're in real danger of getting relegated, and people see that as a real issue, especially given the difficult financial position that we're in, and they're saying that a relegation is going to cause us even more problems. Tom, just to start with you, just to go from right to left, but What are your thoughts on it? It's a really difficult one because again, as well, I don't see. This isn't like Egil Olsen in the Premier League. This isn't a squad of players for me that's not playing for their manager. The effort is there, the application is there. We're doing the right things. We're harrying, we're pressing. We're lacking quality. We are,
I
and
think
we're
we're
lacking
lacking
experience.
a lot of experience, like you mentioned. But for me, I'm very much Robbo in, and that's not because I'm on a show by the club. I think there's two things for me. Is every season we've been in League One, bar the first, we've been in this position. So it's not a Robbo issue, to be honest. It's not. A lot of people call for that because that's football. As soon as the manager loses a game, people's heads turn. So there's a lot of that. So I don't think it's the manager's fault necessarily, and it's a bigger issue than that. But for me, Robbo is a tactically sound manager, and the other way to look at it is who do we bring in? Who looks at this role and goes, I want to take that
That's
role
the job for me.
They're going to give him very little resources. They're going to be given a squad that's probably quite demoralised at the moment. And if someone can find me, I've seen people touting a lot of big names on social media, should we say, that wouldn't come here. So I just think we keep Robbo, and it's a process. What's the point in sacking someone again and again and again?
Do you know, if Robbo was here right now and we could speak to him, the one thing I would pick up on and ask of him was with sort of substitutions and say, what's the thinking behind them? Because a couple today I wasn't sure really if they were the right ones or had we waited too long, perhaps, I don't know.
For me, bringing Hartigan on is just a backwards.
Okay.
I'm not his biggest fan, I'm happy to admit that. I just don't think he suits our team in the sense of he's not a defensive midfielder because he doesn't put a tackle in. But you let him be more creative, more expressive, play him centre midfield in another team, and he might thrive. And he might bring out that academy player that was touted to be very good when he was younger. But in this side, he doesn't gel for me. But you look at the bench today. Who do we bring on that changes the game there? Apart from
that's the problem. That was the problem during the game.
There's no Cosgrove. There's no.
There's nothing.
There's nothing. You look at that bench was quite uninspiring today for me, and I just thought if this game gets where players get tired and it relies on a last minute winner or a last minute hat trick, I mean, who do you bring on? What do you maybe bring Nestor at left wing? Try something different is the only way you can kind of make that bench work. But yeah.
Rob, your thoughts on the managerial position?
I agree with Tom that if you look at that bench, it's uninspiring. There's not really many options, and I think our issue is bigger than Robbo. I worry a little bit that we're hitting the self-destruct button here. There's people calling it, there's a few weeks ago people were calling for Joe Palmer to go. He's left. People are calling for Robbo to go. He might walk, who knows, or I don't know. I mean, it's all speculation.
And George is still here somewhere.
We've changed members of the Don's Trust board recently. We've had 3 managers in 3 years. We can't just keep chopping and changing. Our best run in the Football League has come under Neil Ardley, where we gave him stability of like 7 years. I see people calling for Luke Goward, and he has also had 7 years at Boreham Wood. But are people going to give any manager any time to, get things right? And
the other point of it is, so we keep talking about. I know people have taken umbrage at the phrase process, but this is what we've gone for. We've said the budget's going to be low. We're going to have to look at young players. This is the future. This is the way we're going to go about things. Are we going to abandon that now?
Well, that's the problem. If you go for any other manager who's a free agent, I see all kinds of names thrown out there. For example, Steve Evans, for example. But is he going to work with this young group of squad with no budget for 9 games remaining? It's. I think. It's an unpopular opinion. Maybe an unpopular opinion, because I know that there are a lot of fans out there calling for Robbo to go. But I think we have to stick with the process. I don't think we can keep chopping and changing manager and hoping something sticks. I think our issues are bigger than Robbo. I think there's got to be questions of the recruitment panel and a review of it. Has it worked? Because I don't think some of our loan signings have been good enough this season, in my opinion. I think we've got some signings right. I think Luke McCormack and George Marsh have been decent. Yep. Henry Lawrence started off quite well for us, but had injury problems. Hopefully he's coming back soon. But yeah, I think our issues are further up, or the structure or the debt of the club because of this new stadium, so on and so forth. You could question, was it the right decision to sell Ollie Palmer in hindsight, because he is scoring goals for Wrexham, and right now I would have liked an Ollie Palmer out there instead of a Terrier Blade coming off the bench. And that's no disrespect to Terrier Blade. I know he's making his first debut in the Football League, but
experienced players, and Zach Robinson.
Can I just jump in, sorry? In terms of, like you mentioned, recruitment, Robbo certainly had an impact in bringing Macca and Marsh to the club, in my eyes. And I don't think I've seen that sort of recruitment from a manager ever in my time being a Wimbledon fan. Don't get me wrong, I don't remember the early days because I was very young, but the last 5 or so years.
Can I just say as well, just following on from that, I do worry if Robbo goes that we do lose Maka, Assel, Rudy, Woodyard. And this is what I'm saying. I think some people have to be a little bit careful what they wish for, because you could change manager, we could go down anyway, and then there's a whole rebuilding process in terms of we're going to lose our young talent, in my opinion, because like you said, Maka came to the club because of the presentation. Obviously, Assel signed a 3-year deal because Robbo sold him the vision. I don't know where we go from there.
Just touch on loans as well. We seem to sign the same player. We've got 4 or 5 of this exact same player on loan.
Yeah.
And for me, that's where I think we've gone wrong. And our January window is very unflattering. But
what I will say is, in terms of loans, one player, and he plays for Watford, so you're not going to hear this from me very often. But I thought the effort that Dapo put in today and his attitude, and we understand there was questions earlier in the season, but excellent today. So that shows you're still playing for the manager. Right, George Jones, the floor is yours. Get it out. Go on.
He's been bubbling over
there. Patiently waiting his turn.
I don't think I'm going to surprise anyone by saying Robbo has to stay, in my opinion. What he's doing for the club is better than we've ever had any previous manager do. Not, results on the pitch aren't going our way at the moment. We've been competitive in every single game. How many games? Well, most games. More games than we have.
More games than we have.
How many times have we been on the show when the result hasn't gone our way, but we've been able to say, a bit of luck and we get something? Most of the games are the last 19. And we've been so unlucky, and the process is so important for the club we want to be, not just in terms of on the pitch, but also, and perhaps more importantly, off the pitch. And Robbo's building that, and the culture is so important to build. If we go down, Robbo's the best person to bring us back up. No one would come in and do a better job than him. We'd lose the best young players that we've got, like you've said, because they don't come here for for a third of the money they could get anywhere else. They come here for Robbo. We lose him, we lose the very few positives that are in that playing squad. And I think that's so important that anyone who says Robbo out, be careful what you're wishing for, because if we lose him, we lose Rudy, we lose Ayew, we lose Maka, we lose Marshy. And these are players who we can't, if you take those players out of this squad, that's not far off a non-league team. Yeah. The recruitment hasn't been good enough this year, and I think Tommy said that with the scattergun approach. We've effectively signed 4 of the same player on loan, trying to find one that works, and sadly, none of them have. And it's so important that we catch on to that, because we do need to look at what's gone wrong this year, so lessons are learned, whether that's in League 1 next year or maybe League 2. But you've got to look, the restructuring that's happening now, Joe Palmer's left, whether that's going to be hiring a new CEO or hiring a sporting director and a general manager or something to give Robbo more support. These are the things we have to look into, because Robbo's the man to lead us off the pitch.
I know like there's loads of people out there. Pat Hayes there on the screen, yours alluded, we've got 19 games out of win. Pat, we understand that 100%, and there are growing calls of people that are saying, look, part of the process is not being relegated to League 2, we don't want to have relegation. Totally understandable points of view. It would be I think it'd be fair to say, Jens, that it would actually be handy if we had someone with those sorts of opposing views to come on here and sort of explain what. Is it just a case of because we're 19 without a win, the manager? Is it just an automatic response? The manager has to go. Does anyone have any in mind of what Robbo's done wrong and what someone else might do differently with this squad? All those sorts of things. Because I think it's we can appreciate fans saying after a long run the manager's got to go. But I think if you're out there, just put some comments, try and flesh that out a little bit, and what you sort of think might want you to happen if he was to go.
Just following on for that, I do understand why people are calling for Robbo to go, because let's be honest, what other team up and down the country goes 19 games without changing the manager? So I do understand the fans' frustration. I do understand that some people have lost faith and want to change the manager. I'm just looking. I feel for me personally, I'm just looking at the bigger picture, and we're only going to get a manager in who's out of work for a reason. Steve Evans, Kenny Jackett. We're not going to go pick off a top manager with our budget and everything, and then they've got 9 games left to work with academy players and players low on confidence. I don't know. I understand both sides.
And the thing is, we're 23rd in the budget league this year. I know people don't like speaking about budget and all of that, but it's so important we talk about it, because what do people expect us to be able to do to go out and sign a Kenny Jackett who's never been successful even when he had a budget, or a big name manager like that? And also
I think, can we just, in fairness,
he's had a bit of
never
success.
been successful.
He's had a bit of success, I'll admit that.
Yeah.
But what do people expect us to be able to do? The recruitment hasn't been good this year. But people who expect someone to come in and then all of a sudden will somehow magically improve. We've got a good playing squad. You know, results haven't gone our way, but we've got a great young coaching staff as well. Things will improve. Someone in the comments has said maybe we need to get Robbo some more experience coming in, and you know, Darius. You know, I think it's fair to say Darius was hoping to do that, but we do need to have an experienced coach come in.
What's forgotten about previous managers like Neil Ardley, because it was his first job as a number one, was that he had contact in the game that he sort of went to and looked for advice from them and picked them up. And we'd wonder if Robbo's got the same sort of voices he can go to or approach. We just don't know. Maybe that's something for the club to discuss. Sorry, Sean Tennyson. George is talking sense.
That's supposed to agree with George, I think. Yeah.
Clock is right 2 times a day. But no, fair enough. Absolutely. Just looking at results there on the screen, just to see where the league table is. And then, as you can see, Crewe lost as you'd expect at Sunderland. Doncaster just continue to lose unless they are playing Wimbledon, it seems. I can't see their results. Oh, they lost at home to Gillingham. What a numpty I am. Because earlier I said that the bottom 6 had all left, but of course they hadn't, because Gillingham beat Doncaster. They were both in the bottom 6. So Gillingham have now moved level on points to us, but the goal difference, they're 10 goals worse off. And Fleetwood were in a commanding position at Burton, but then they lost in the end by 3 goals to 2. So once again, we keep our heads above water, but a little while ago we had those games in hand that we were looking at, and they've kept us, all the clubs have caught up with us now. And Doncaster, despite their continuing defeats, continued just within 4 points of us. Just looking round, nothing else there particularly. I think it really stands out for us. Although we do host Charlton in the next couple of weeks, and they're not in great form. So Cambridge we also host coming up,
and they got form then, won't it?
Well, yeah, probably. No luck at the moment. But Cambridge got hammered at the Sheffield Wednesday today. So again, home games you look at and you think maybe, but we are now getting to stage. Tom, I don't think 50 points keeps. I don't think you need to hit anywhere near 50 points to stay in the division this year, which is...
I don't think so, especially with how tight that bottom 6 is now.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago was, we thought Gillingham were pretty much dead and buried, and now they're back up with it. I think our goal difference is definitely going to come in handy if it does go down. I hope it doesn't go down to points. It doesn't go down to goal difference if we're equal on points. But teams from 19th to 21st on 33 points, then a point gap to 22nd, and then 2 points to 23rd. It's insane how narrow it is down there at the bottom, and a lot of teams have got similar records to us now with a lot of draws and not many wins. So
it still really is all to play for. The concern for me today is, and Rob, I don't know what your thoughts on this are, but the end of today's game felt, I don't know, it didn't feel quite right. I think there was a lot of angst, a lot of frustration, but a lot of desperation as well. It seemed to be a game that sort of got away from us and sort of it almost felt like the day fell apart in some respects. So that sounds overly dramatic, but when you see players protesting as furiously as ours were at the end, and your team were down and empty seats around the place, it wasn't a good feeling. It feels like we need a week to really pick ourselves up, because Cheltenham next week is a difficult game, but it's a winnable game.
But also, it shows you the reaction to that, to what we saw in the last 20 minutes or so today, shows you that the players are still fighting for Robbo. Because you've seen, because we've seen it at Wimbledon where the managers have lost players. You don't see that fight and that spirit, and Bezo and Rob and Robbo, what they were doing in the dugout. All of these things, they're still fighting us. We're not down and out. We're not in the bottom 4 yet, and I think 40 points is enough this year. Or maybe 42. But I think it's going to be a low total, and I think we can still achieve it.
I agree with George in the sense that I don't think the players are down in tools or you can fault them for lack of effort, but I also agree with you, Nick, that it felt very flat. We came into the day after losing to Wigan and Plymouth away. We've got a run of fixtures now which I put down as winnable. I wasn't expecting much from our last 2, and this was the first one back at Plough Lane. Obviously, that's I can't sugarcoat that we've been 18 games without a win previous to today. You're looking at every game now we must win this, we need to turn our form around, and another game ticks away from us. And the stadium was very empty. They had 10 men for the last half an hour. It just felt very flat, and it kind of reminded me of the end of Neil Ardley's reign, to be honest with you. It's how the atmosphere felt.
It had an Egil Olsen type feel. I don't know, I did see one comment, Spike, who's our director today, but if there was one you put up on the screen just before, was it Mark Engelbretson? Was it just an interesting one? If you can find it, but don't worry. If not, lots of comments obviously coming through, and there's going to be lots of frustrations because go 19 games without a win. Paul Hardcastle's going to start singing songs about this.
People come to football to watch their team win,
yes.
And 19 games without a win is going to breed frustration. And I think when that win comes around, I think it will be a big turning point, especially for the team, because you'll give them positivity,
yes,
but
100%.
until that win
Always.
comes, it's going to be a lot of frustration.
It's going to be very frustrating. Mark Engelbrechtson, there you go, thanks Mike. Are the youngsters a positive? Brown suggested they have attitude issues in his interview. Rob, were they attitude issues or were they more confidence and perhaps is attitude? I'm not sure if it was an attitude issue or whether it was young players that needed to be told you can't hide away from this.
Yep.
It's not like they're sort of not putting the effort in, but they are perhaps scared of taking a chance here and there, perhaps maybe worried about making a mistake more than they are trying to create something. Is that maybe what he was thinking? And the only way to fix that is for yourself to sort of use a phrase that's unpopular in today's parlance, but I can't think of a better way to put it. Man up.
Yep, no, I agree. I don't think, like I've said previously just a second ago, I can't fault the effort, but I had a friend with me today. He doesn't come to Wimbledon games very often, but he mentioned he felt like Jack Rodoni was hiding a bit today, not showing for the ball and had his best game. And I think that's what happens when you got young players who are low on confidence. So I mean, I think going back to Mark's comment, I think the youngsters are positive, because I think this is the right process we should have gone down of signing young up and talent players who we can sell on for a profit. But then the problem is, when it doesn't go right or doesn't go well and confidence is zapped, you're looking around thinking who's going to get us out of this mess. Previously you'd look at Darius Charles, Paul Robinson, Lyle Taylor.
Yeah.
I look around at that team now and I'm kind of scratching my head who to turn to.
Johnny Rosemont there, I just see on the screen. The whole panel is delusional or simply on the payroll. I'll tell you what, I wish we were on the payroll. I think every penny I can get, pay for my heating at the moment. But sadly, no, Johnny, we're not being paid for this. But delusional, I think you're going to have to. I think we just got different ways of looking at things and coming at it, and every opinion is valid, and we do. And I'll be honest, and Spike behind the camera will be able to sort of confirm this for me because he's got access to all the comments. But the majority of comments do seem to be calling for a change or a manager or questioning that. And questioning what we're saying, so that's fine. Everyone's got a voice. All your opinions are welcome. There was another comment I saw, Spike, asking what time do you knock off. So is that a cue for us to wrap up? Maybe. Tom, final random question for you. There was a man of the match announced, but I got in the West End. I got no chance of hearing. Lee Brown. Okay, fair enough. Was that a fair shout for you?
See, for me in my match ball, I gave it to Luke McCormick because I thought he gave him a complete different dynamic. There was one bit where he scooped someone and skipped it past them, and I just think he plays with a bit of fun and plays, and he, as shown by that slide tackle a couple of weeks ago, and he kind of ran the whole length of the pitch. He leaves everything on the pitch, and he really plays with a badge, and he's got talent to back that up. So for me, it was him, not from history, just from today. I thought he looked very good out there today, and the game changed when he went off.
Rob?
For me, either Lee Brown or Woodyard. Yeah, with my two best players on the pitch. The two players have experience, funny enough.
Yeah, I thought Woodyard was excellent today, and I also note even in the last final 30 seconds of the game there was Woodyard and Brown, funny enough, chasing, harrying, trying to win book tackles. Paul as well. They hadn't down tools or given up, as we say. George, your pick?
No, I think Mac and Brownie both had good games. I mean, Daps I thought had his best game for us in a while. Dapa Mabude.
Yes, he did.
So I'd mention him especially because one thing I particularly noticed from him today was when Zach missed his first chance. Daps was one who he should have squared it to, and rather than shouting him, he just picked Zach up and got on with it. When other strikers certainly other strikers in our past would have just moaned at him for not squaring, and that shows the togetherness. And I would have given it to Dapa Mabude.
Mark Hendricks, I hope he's okay with me unmasking him because he's under his pseudonym of Cutting It Fine Films.
It's too late now.
It's too late now. Everyone knows it's you. Sometimes the best reaction is not to react at all. What I mean with by that, okay, I'm not going to make a wrestling reference, but you don't want to do a Hulk Hogan and start not selling things. You've got to react to it. You've got to take it. Anyway, sometimes best reaction is not to react. So what I mean by that is a knee-jerk reaction will cause big problems. There you go. Thank you. I could have filled it in with another word, which would be wholly inappropriate. Say no more. Sometimes it is true, isn't it? You've got to, as I said before, if the club, and I know people have said, hey look, we're the official channel and we're not going to critique or go against the grain or whatever it might be, I would quite happy to tell you, if we were to sack Mark Robinson, I'd be absolutely furious, and I wouldn't hold back in saying it, because I think, as Mark said, their knee-jerk reactions are no good. We said we've got a process, surely we have to keep with that process.
Yeah. Like I said, I think our issues are bigger from Robbo at this club. Like I said, it's no secret we're trying to find £11 million of bonds. Obviously, I don't see comments coming through. They've not come up on the screen just because we can't get through every single one of like going to get Neil Warnock or Ian Holloway. I don't think realistically we could afford them type of managers, and it would just be 180 degree turn from what we're trying to build to go and get an Ian Holloway or Neil Warnock. 9 games left to go, and then would they stay in the summer? It's all ifs, buts, maybes. It's a bit of a mess right now. Go on, George.
I'd say on that, like, one thing, on like Neil Warnock or someone, we're 23rd in the League One budget league. You're not going to get Neil Warnock. And Ian Holloway nearly relegated Grimsby last season. So I don't know what people are thinking with that sort of thing, because that's not a reason. One's unrealistic and one's worse than what we've got now. And I think we're in a position where we have to trust Robbo, and I agree with you, Nick. If Robbo was to leave, I'd be fuming, because we're 1 year into a 5-year process, and you don't, just because you have a slight bump in the road in the middle of a long-term process, you don't abandon it, because if we abandon it, we've got no long-term hope and short-term failure as well. So you stick with it, because we're still going to get long-term success from it.
You say a slight bump in the road, it's quite a big bump.
No, but in terms of the 5-year process, a relegation is a small bump.
I disagree. I mean, the board came out recently in a YouTube video talking about the championship in 5 years.
Yeah.
I don't think that was going via League Two. That bus was taking quite a detour on the route round the pothole in the road here, George. Like,
you have to think, and I don't mean apologies for bringing this club up. You have to look at Luton Town, who went down to the conference, and how many years did it take? I mean, look how they're flying now. Yeah. You don't do that in 5 years.
But that's the thing. It was still when they went down, when they were trying to buy short-term success, they kept failing. It was only when they started to implement more of a long-term scheme that they started to have success. And it's the same.
My issue with the 5-year thing is, like, a lot of people I know that come to football don't come to football to sit there and wait 5 years for something to happen. Like, they want stuff now and they want it.
Yes. Yep. Sorry, I'm not reacting to you sometimes.
They want wins. They want good performances. Like, I can see the 5-year plan. I think it's great, but a lot of people, this is. I saw a Celtic man just put a thing out about it, and it says, you come to forget your problems. You don't come to think about what's going to happen in 5 years or 10 years or whatever. Like, people want to come, have a beer, watch the game, and have fun.
The problem as well, in my opinion, with this 5-year plan is we've just spent probably about 5 years in League One fighting relegation. Yeah. And so, it's been a painful 5 years as it is.
But I'd say that's because we've never had a 5-year plan before. You look at it, we always had Trotter, Sawes, Quessy. Just for 1 year, just focusing on trying to avoid relegation. You've got to build something. And if you go down but you come back stronger, then that's worth it.
But you know my worry, George, if we go down, we do what Southend done, Chesterfield, Yeovil. There's a lot of clubs which, I even see fans going, if we go down, we might win a few games. We might do a Southend and go into non-league.
I would say all those clubs had major issues off the pitch, worse so than we do. Worse the pitch than off we do. But I would say on that, people who say, like what you were saying about people who come to enjoy games, it's that sort of mentality that leads you into situations like Bury, like Oldham, partially Oldham, but also Derby.
I think that's a bit harsh.
No, but
I think that's a tad harsh.
Well, no, but I'd say you got to go long term, because if you go short term success, so let's go out and spend.
No, I'm not saying that the club should do it. What I'm saying is I can see why fans are frustrated because no one wants to sit and wait 5 years. But fans need to understand
that that's not how you have a club with any degree of sustainability. And we've seen a lot, especially over the last couple of weeks, of what happens when you run a club unsustainably and the potential consequences of that. And I think it's so important we don't go down that road. And I'd rather be sustainable in League Two with Robbo and building the process than spend unsustainably in League
Tom's
One.
Not saying to spend unsustainably.
I'm not saying we should go out and sign like Lionel Messi up front. I'm saying we should go. I'm just saying a lot of fans are frustrated because they don't want to wait 5 years.
A lot of fans.
I know, but the only way you avoid that 5-year wait is the short-term spending.
George, you call a lot of fans general admission.
No,
well, that's what the majority of fans here are. Yeah. They're general admission. They just want to come and spend their money on a Saturday, enjoy football, and go home. And they want to be entertained for their money. It's, bills and everything are going up at the moment. They're part of their hard-earned money, and losing every week isn't fun. They're not screaming, go sign this player or that player, but
it's not fun.
No.
And as Angelo V said, and Angelo actually, clocked a point you made earlier about experience Lee Brown playing well because his experience has got a maturity that helps him out, which we are lacking. However you look at it, something does indeed need to change. What I would say, George, yes, Neil Warnock, yes, we'd never be able to afford him. Ian Holloway, I would just say maybe a bit harsh on Ian Holloway for a point to one position where he didn't do so well in, because he does have a good track record over the years. But anyway, I think we need to go. So, on that note, Tom, Rob,
thank you,
George. Thank you for joining me. Everyone, thank you very much for listening, and thank you for all your comments. We will be back again next home game. To be honest with you.
Charlton week.
Thank you, Charlton. Midweek Tuesday night game with Charlton. We'll be back pre and post match. We will see you then.